run over things that you would need or can use for watercolor. So this is leftovers that I have of watercolor paper and brands that I use. So I don't buy the most expensive Fabriano paper that there is, because I am but just a teacher and this is good enough. So just talking about the paper, you can use I don't want to say you can, but you can use any paper, but then just know that if you don't have a paper with a very high GSM, so GSM is like the thickness of the paper, and it tells you how much water or weight the page can handle before it starts to warp or to get all wavy. So just going to show, this is a 300 GSM and this is a cold press, and you get a hot press that has let me see if I have the hot press here. The hot press is currently being used. Okay, hot press, I got this at P&A for 160 rand. Hot press, 300 GSM. With this paper you have less of a texture. It's a very smooth paper, but then with cold press you have more of a texture. I started sketching out a sketch. I don't know if you can see the texture. Any stationery or art shop will have these. Then this comes from Typo. You can see in the bottom, it's a 200 GSM, so it can't handle as much water as these can, but they are much cheaper and it gets the job done. So I even work with oil pastels on them, but also has a texture on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see. It also has a texture on it, and a lot of people want to use this hot press because I don't know, because of the smooth satin finish, but I prefer the cold press. I like the texture of the paper. I learned how to use watercolor with this paper, so this is my comfort zone. And then I get to the fancy paper, and as you can see, I haven't even tore out one page. I haven't even started. I was intimidated, but okay. This doesn't have a texture. I'm yet to experiment with this, but I'm sure it will work the same. What I have realized from other paper brands is that some brands, their paper gets stained very easily. So with this, for example, with this one, these, I can put a color on and then remove it very easily with just wetting my brush or scrubbing away on it with a tissue. But I can remove the paint or the color very easily, but on other papers it gets stained. It lightens, but it doesn't lighten as much as it does on these. So okay, this is just how to start. You need paper. I have a nice book to show. If you use just normal paper, you will get, I experimented with ink, so I didn't even add water, but I experimented with ink. This, I don't know what GSM this is. I don't know, probably 128, 128. But okay, so not a very thick paper, it's normal paper. Experimented with ink on it, and as you can see, it's you can't see, okay, it's very wavy, very textured, if I can say that. But okay, so that's why I say you can use any paper, but you will need to deal with this. So that's that. Then I have other sketchbooks. I just want to see if I have watercolor in them. This one I know I have. So this is just an old experiment that I did. The paper at the top is wrinkly, not the sketch anymore. Let me see. Only the paper at the top and on the sides. But then if you're okay with that, then it's fine, then you can use this paper. So then the next thing regarding watercolor is a lot of people stretch their paper. So with that, I would say use a good quality paper. To stretch the paper, it means that you are going to dunk your paper in water and then tape it with gum tape. So it's like a brown tape that you wet, and then you, let's say this is my paper, I have gum taped. I don't have any here with me because I don't stretch my paper, but okay, so then you put your gum tape down so it will be a wet paper with wet gum tape. You let it dry, and then as it dries, it's gonna bulk up a little bit and then settle down. So then when you remove everything, your paper won't warp as much as it would have without the stretching. So you're sort of making your paper used to getting a lot of water as you're going to be working on it. But because I'm working with a very high GSM, and I know it's not a Fabriano paper, which would have been a better paper to use, it can handle a lot more water, I don't find as much trouble with warping of paper. Let me see if I have an example. This is just one example. I did this on the spot. There's maybe a little kink over here, but nothing major. I'm not a shy person when it comes to water, so I didn't feel the need to stretch it. This is also watercolor paper with gouache paint. I'll go into gouache paint, but it's also a paint that I like to thin out with water, so I feel like the paper can handle it. I don't want to waste my time or effort to stretch it. This is also just one Christmas. I was staring at a Christmas tree. Maybe a kink over there, but nothing major. Okay, so that's that with preparing your page. Next, you'll need water, and again with the oil paint I used an olive jar and a honey jar, and this I think was bath salts. I don't buy special cups for it, I reuse the ones that I have. Paint, I have water to clean my brushes. Let's start with brushes. I keep buying new brushes and end up, oh here's another one, and then I have another one. I have a lot more. Okay, but I end up buying new brushes and never using them, and only using this one. I don't know why only this one, because it's actually a very large brush, but I started out with only these two. I guess I started out with brushes like these, which is just my normal brushes that I use for everything. My first set, nothing special. Then I bought a little set of watercolor brushes from P&A. It was like a little plastic sleeve, and then you can choose if you want oil color brushes or oil paint. acrylic or watercolor. So this came with a set of watercolor brushes of different sizes and shapes. I started with this, and then I thought, okay, well, I enjoy painting with watercolor. Let me like treat myself to something fancy. So I'm not saying these are fancy brushes, but at P&A they have like a, which is our stationery shop, they have like a box with paint brushes sold loosely, and I'm the type that usually picks a brush up and plays with their hair and feels like, oh, okay, I like this, I'll use this, so then I buy it. So these two, I thought, okay, with this one I'll be able to create background, and with this one I'll be able to paint my details, not knowing that I would be, because I was someone that liked to use A3 papers, so big papers, and then I moved to smaller ones just for time's sake or for travel friendly papers. But okay, so then I needed a smaller brush, but I'm still using this one. This one's still my favorite, and I also use this one to create my background. So these two are my staples. Then I got what's that, I want to say water brush. It's like a paintbrush, and you put water in a dispenser at the back, and then you can squish the water to regulate the wetness of your brush while painting. I love that thing. I use it for a long time. I wanted to test a coil brush or a mop brush, but I haven't used this one because I lost it. I forgot it in a bag or somewhere, and I recently found it. And while waiting for me to find this, I bought another one, also Montmartre. Don't even know if I'm saying this right, but this one's a little bit better. It's a bigger mop brush. The quality looks a little bit better. I'm one that wants to touch the hair, so I can feel that this one is a little bit has a jump to it, where this one's very soft. So I'll have more control with this one. I've used this once. It gives me the same effect that this one does. So still not a detailed brush, which is why I'm using a very splodgy type of painting. And then I have one small brush that I rarely use. Okay, so the brushes don't matter as long as your brush can absorb water, and it's not like this. It's not like this, a hog hair brush. This won't work for watercolor. It doesn't absorb water very well, and it will damage your paint if you use like a palette pan paint situation. Then that won't work. But any softer brush that has a lot of hair will absorb your water very well, which is why these work even though they might be an acrylic brush. I usually stick with these. This one I'll put back before I lose it. Okay, then what you can do is you can take two water jars, one where you clean your brush and then one where you rinse your brush from the dirty paint water. But I just get up, throw out, refill the jar constantly, and it doesn't bother me. It gives me a little bit of space and time away from the artwork for it to dry and for me to get a clear image of what I want to do. So I have water, then tissue or toilet paper or a towel or kitchen towel or cloth, something like that you can use to help you to dampen or to dry your brushes if there's too much water on. Then with paint, you get all kinds of paint. I bought this set, well, I didn't buy it, my mom gave it to me for, I think it was my birthday, and I've been using it for years now, and I don't believe in cleaning it unless I need a fresh new palette, but sometimes I reuse the colors, they reactivate and I reuse them. And then these are new colors, I didn't have them, the set came with the rest except for the gold and for this greenish color. But I am the type that only likes to use my primary colors, and then the whites, you'll see nothing has actually happened to the white. I don't believe in using white with watercolor because the paper is already white. Why do you need white? So with watercolor it works differently from oil paint. It is the opposite. With oil paint you need to work from dark to light. With watercolor you work from light to dark, so that you leave the white spaces white and you don't need the white. Okay, and you'll also be able to see that I use my red, my blue and my yellow a lot, and they are dirty, I know. I'll clean them when I need to, but these are my favorite. They're good quality. I can buy individual pans, or I can make my own pans, fill them with color. So I try to experiment with that. This is one thing that you can use for your paint. Then you can buy, this is just a basic set, buy watercolor where it comes in a tube. Yeah, I don't prefer to use this. It's each to their own. It is there if you need it to, but I don't know. I like the compact, travel-friendly size of that, but they work the same. And with this, I have my palette connected to the paints, so I can mix it easier. With this, I'll need to travel with something to mix the paints on. So these are perfect. You're going to use them the same way. You're just going to squeeze out a little bit of color, dilute it with water, and then use as you need it, but it works the same, exactly the same. You won't notice the difference on the artwork at the end of the day. So you have this option. Then if you are like me and you prefer this, I bought I think it's for Pulse at, I think it was Discount or Crazy Plastics or something like that, but it came with a whole bunch of these containers. So I took them and filled them with paint. I just wanted to see how would it work, so I took the paint tubes and emptied them into these. If I wet a brush and use it inside of these, it works exactly the same, and it comes from a tube. That's why it's cracked. The drying process wasn't, I didn't follow the right steps, but that's another thing that you can use. Then you also get watercolor pencils. The pencils, I don't use it often, but you can draw with the pencil and then add water to your page and like sort of dilute it or scrub it to become like a painted pencil picture. But what I do is I just take my brush, wet it, and then I take some of the pigment and then I use it like that. So this becomes my palette. So it is there. I don't think I'll encourage anyone to buy it, but it is there. It works. It has its purpose. Maybe for finer details or something like that. Then you get watercolor or water-based markers. So this has Indian ink inside, but you can dilute it with water. Then you have an aqua brush, the brush tip on the one end and a bullet nib on the other. This I like these specifically. It came in a set where there's yellow, green and blue in, and I use it a lot. You can literally, sorry, the power just went out. So what you can do is use them on a paper and then wet the paint. I'll demonstrate, but you'll have to work very quick with this. So I'm just gonna wet my brush and then sort of activate the color, or you can draw onto a piece of paper or plastic and then wet the plastic and then use it as paint. I used that a long time ago. This is another type. Sort of works a little bit better, but you have to work immediately, otherwise it dries. So that's another option for color. So that's just basics of what you would need. You need your colors, whether it's pan paints or tube paints or pencils or cokies, water-based, whatever, it's up to you. You'll need your paint, water, and then I use washi tape to tape off my edges so that when I'm done I can take them off and I'll have a clean frame. And usually when you want to frame something, you'll need to have like a little bit of the frames, like it's like a paper that they put inside the frame, will go over the artwork. So I leave this space there for the frame to be able to go over it without it influencing the artwork. So I use washi tape for this. I get it from, you can get it from a stationery shop or P&A, but if you go to like a Value Mart or a China shop or something like that, they have it for cheaper. It works, so why not? So I get myself a few of these, then don't need anything else. So then I just travel with basically this and a water bottle. That's it. Pencil maybe if you want to sketch out an idea before you start, but that's all you'll need to start with the basics with watercolor. You can always add a little bit more. For example, you can use masking fluid. So this is very old, I don't use it often. Masking fluid I bought from P&A. You get all kinds of brands, and then I know you also get like masking fluid pens. So what this does is you put it down onto your paper, you let it dry, and then you paint as you would, and then when you're finished you sort of peel off the masking fluid and you'll be left with a white highlight or piece on the paper. So this is masking the page so that the paint doesn't affect it. So if you, this is again why you don't need to use white in your paint, because this helps you to keep the page white. So this is another fancy thing that you can get yourself, but it's not a must-have. It is a nice to have. But yeah, I think that's it for the basic needs for watercolor, and then next I'll go into techniques that you can use for it and when to apply them. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that you've learned something or seen something that you would need. Get them ready for the next video and then we can experiment together.